If you want a great career, you're going to have to create it. This is Forward Tilt by Praxis.
I used to work at a place where we installed network cables for, well, it was local area networks at the time. This was before Wi-Fi took off. So we would go into businesses and we would install cabling, Category 5 cabling, and phone cables and phone systems as well. It was primarily at car dealerships. And the guy who ran the company, it was my brother and I worked for him. And one summer my brother was off and I ran the show for that summer. And this guy he loved to have fun. He loved to play. So he would be out hunting, fishing, doing things. And often he would just send me in the company truck. And maybe I'd have a friend who I hired to work with me that day if I needed some help. And I'd be driving all across the state of Michigan, going to these car dealerships. And I'd have very vague instructions. Oh, I think over at this dealership, they want you to install a couple Category 5 cables for a new printers that they're getting set up in the body shop or the parts department. And that would be it. So I would go there and I would show up and I kind of just had to figure out who do I need to talk to and how do I get access to the computer room here so I can start running these cables. And I was in over my head, every day. I mean, I'm not a real technical person. I'm learning on the fly. But one thing I discovered, and it really amazed me, and it stuck with me ever since. If I put on that polo shirt with the logo on it, and if I tucked it in, carried a little tool bag with my, cable termination tools and whatnot. And if I walked in kind of in a hurry or with purpose, looking very calm, very confident, but like I was up to something important. And if I just walked in with confidence and authority and said, hey, I need to get into the computer room, the receptionist or whoever I talked to would say, oh, here's the key. Here you go. They didn't grill me. They didn't inquire, what am I doing here? They weren't worried or nervous. They simply assumed I knew what I was doing, and they gave me access to what I needed, which was a room that, I could take down all of the phones and computer systems at these companies, and I was a perfect stranger. But that confidence, I'm convinced to this day, if you put on a polo shirt and carry a bag with some pliers in it and just walk into almost any office building anywhere and just say, hey, I need to see your computer room. I'm doing some work. They'd probably let you in. I'm not suggesting that you do that. But I learned that because the first few times I went out, I was very nervous. Hey, I'm from this company. I'm supposed to talk to somebody about some cables. Do you know anything about that? And I was very young. I was 16, 17, and I looked even younger. And I would get very nervous looks. People would say, well, hold on, wait here. Let me call this person. Oh, they're out of town today. You're going to have to wait. And after having that happen to me once or twice, I thought, this is ridiculous. I don't want to wait around on people. I just need to let them know that I'm supposed to be here. I just need to convey that. And so I've just come in confidently wearing that little polo shirt and say, hey, I need to get into the computer room. Can I get a key for that? I'm doing some work. And that's that. And it worked every time. It was amazing. And I would often have problems. So I'd be terminating some cables and I would accidentally step on something or unplug something. Or one time I took down a fiber optic that connected two buildings together. So it was all the computer systems in one whole building. And I didn't know what I had done. I didn't know how to fix it. This would often happen. Or I would install a Ethernet card on a PC and then I'd have to type in a bunch of IP addresses that I had memorized, but I didn't know what they meant. So if something didn't go right, I didn't know what was going on. But what I found was if I accidentally took down someone's phone system, for example, and someone would come panicky to the computer room, the phone systems are down. What's going on? If I said, oh my gosh, they are, I don't know. Oh no, what do we do? Let me call somebody. I'm not sure what I did. If I showed that I was panicky and fearful, they would get really stressed. They'd be angry. They'd be frustrated. But if I just said, oh, sorry about that. Should have it up pretty soon here. I'm just working on a few things. It shouldn't be a problem. I apologize for the inconvenience. And I conveyed calm and confidence. They would feel calm and confident. And it's not about deception because the material conditions don't change. Phone system's going to be down for an hour or two because I did something that broke while I was installing something new. So they're going to have no phones for a few hours either way. But the way that I respond and the way that I convey what I'm doing and the confidence I have in it changes their experience of those 2 hours. They can either experience it relaxed and be like, oh, sorry about that, everybody. The phones are down for a few hours. And actually come back and, tell jokes and grab me a cup of coffee and have a good time talking while I'm working and enjoy themselves. Or they could be really, really stressed and frustrated and angry. And again, the experience itself, the objective facts were no different, but the way they experienced that hardship was all about the way that I conveyed what I was experiencing. If I seemed stressed and like I didn't know what I was doing, then they would take that on. And the reality is, what I found out, what made me perfectly comfortable with just conveying confidence, even when I had no idea what had happened or how I was going to fix it, was that I came to realize nobody knows what they're doing. Nobody does. Everyone's making it up. Everyone's learning as they go. Nobody wants to admit this because no one wants to say, hey, let me work on your computer system. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll figure it out as I go. That makes people uncomfortable. But that's actually what's happening. When someone who appears to have a ton of expertise, they're usually kind of just making connections and trying things and testing as they go. And I found my boss who had all this knowledge, and I would call him in a panic. Oh my gosh, I think I just took down the phone system, or, this Ethernet cord is not doing the thing that it's supposed to do. And he would kind of walk me through, and he always had this ability when he would come to jobs to be very calm, and they talk to the customers and they'd be all happy and he'd be telling jokes, and he always figured everything out. But I thought he just knew everything. I learned he didn't. He knew a few basic things and he knew how to learn. And he knew when someone said, what happened? Can you fix it? They weren't really asking, do you know exactly what happened? And do you already at this moment know exactly how to fix it? Because that wasn't true. That's not what they were asking. He couldn't say, nope, I don't know what happened and I don't know how to fix it, because they would get stressed. But he could answer their real question. Their real question is everything going to be okay? Will you ultimately get the result that we need? And he knew that was true. He's not going to lie and say everything's fine. And I learned this. I wasn't going to lie and say everything's fine, it'll all be taken care of, and then not have it ultimately be fine. But I would say everything's fine, no problem, I'll have it done, even though I didn't yet know how. Because I trusted my ability to learn. I trusted my ability to eventually figure out. And so that fine line between, you always need to back it up ultimately, but when someone says, what happened? Do you know how to fix it? If you have confidence in your ability to learn, you can say, I've got it under control, and convey that confidence to them in any kind of job that you're doing. And then you go about learning it, and you learn on the fly, and you don't let them take on the stress of knowing that you're learning on the fly, because for some reason that bothers everyone, even though it's the reality. So I shared this story with the Praxis participants and alumni in our online community, and one of the participants commented at his business partner where he's apprenticing. It's a software company. He said he often gets customers call with highly technical problems, and they'll say, oh, I'm having this problem with the X, Y, and Z. And he doesn't know at all what they're talking about. But he said his method is he'll say, oh, okay, you're having, and he'll repeat back to them word for word exactly the problem they described, so that it sounds like he's, knows exactly what they said, make sure that he hears what they said, and he's writing it down and writing down these notes. And then he's saying, sure, we can help you with that. And then he's immediately text messaging engineers that work at the company and asking them. And he said he realized they don't even know what a lot of these things are, and they figure it out on the fly. But as he's talking with the customer, he's conveying confidence. He's saying, oh, your problem is X, Y, and Z. Yes, we can definitely help you with that. Let me just check with an engineer here on this. And he conveys that confidence, repeats back to them what their problem is, and he's going and learning it and solving it, sometimes even Googling it, but not putting the stress on that customer of feeling that way. The moral of the story is, if you have a polo shirt on with a company logo, you can get in anywhere. No, the moral of the story is convey confidence. Develop confidence in your ability not to do any specific thing or know any specific piece of knowledge at any given time, but your ability to learn it, your ability to eventually figure out, your ability to eventually resolve the situation satisfactorily, and bank on that and communicate that. Communicate from a place of, I know the end result's going to be fine, so let me just convey that to you. And you don't necessarily need to convey the inner workings of your process. Wear that shirt, walk in with confidence, and say, I need to get to the computer room. Everything's going to be fine.
Want more Forward Tilt? Go to discoverpraxis.com/forwardtilt to get a free ebook and every episode delivered to your inbox.